little bit here in Modern, kind of like this mono white hate bears deck that Lauren Kenner is playing, Death and Taxes as it were. Just, you've got, your lands, you don't get Port and Wasteland, but you've got some lands that matter here in Ghost Quarter and Tectonic Edge in combination with Lean and Arbiter. So that's a pretty sweet deck. Though she is down a game right now against Josh Rose and his Merfolk deck, which is really one of the decks that is really, really good in Modern right now. Though it looks like it's under duress right now.
And the Ghost Quarter is very nice here for Lauren to have in the matchup because her deck is going to be really good at gumming down the ground. There's a lot of good value creatures. There's First Strike present in her deck. Blocking is not going to be an issue. So Josh is going to have to Island Walk here, and being able to get a Spreading Seas off of the table allows Lauren to gum up the works, and then her creatures are much better pound for pound than Josh's are.
Spellsky's going to do some blocking. Some creatures are going to trade, but it looks like 5 damage is going to come across the air from Flicker Wisp and Aven Mind Sensor. We'll see what the follow-up is here for Kenner. I'm going to Ghost Quarter away the planes that has the Spreading Seas on it, so she'll get to search up a planes. Remember, Aven Mind Sensor only works on the opponent. So.
Another Future Sight oddball.
That's your favorite set, I know.
It's my favorite set to look at.
Yeah.
That's a very different thing.
You say, what the heck was going on here? Now there is a Blade Splicer, which will bring a Gullum along with it.
And these kind of threats that you see on Lauren's side of the table, they're extremely punishing for Merfolk. They don't brawl very well against threats of this quality. Josh's way of cheating it is Critical Mass. He gets a bunch of Lords in play, and then his creatures are actually better than Lauren's. Or he has Island Walk.
Yep.
And in that game, you saw Josh did not have a lot in the way of Lords. Lauren had it out to Island Walk with the Ghost Quarter on the land that had been Spreading Seas, and you just see this board of Kitchen Finks and Blade Splicers, and it's going to be challenging for Merfolk to win those kind of games.
Lauren Kenner does win game number 2 here against Josh Rose. Death and Taxes, Merfolk getting ready for game number 3, which means we'll take a look at the sideboards. We'll start with Rose and his Merfolk deck right now.
2 copies of Spellskite, 2 copies of Tectonic Edge, 2 copies of Relic of Progenitus, a Hibernation, 2 copies of Tidebinder Mage, 2 copies of Spell Pierce, 2 copies of Hurkyl's Recall, and 2 copies of Kira Great Glass Spinner. Not surprisingly, not a whole lot here for the matchup. We saw the 2 copies of Spellskite come in here. I would imagine as a way of trying to fizzle some removal spells like Path to Exile. I think Kira can be solid in this matchup for the same reason. Not something that mono white decks typically answer very easily. Kind of requires 2 removal spells or some weird creature with an activated power. So if Spellskite came in, I imagine that Kira came in as well, and besides that, I don't think Josh has much to bring to the table.
Other side of things here for Lauren, she's got 2 copies of Rest in Peace, 2 Core Firewalker, 2 Mirror Crusader, a Celestial Purge, a Hallowed Moonlight, a Sundering Growth, a Mark of Asylum, a Pithing Needle, along with 2 Graph Trigger's Cages and 2 Stony Silence. Doesn't appear many great cards here against Merfolk.
No, I think her main deck is set up pretty well here. Maybe she wants, Mirror Crusader is not a bad attacker / blocker in certain spots if she's able to suppress the Lords, but I think besides the 1 Pithing Needle, nothing really jumps out at me as something that's really good to bring in. And even the 1 Needle in this kind of deck, it's only really good against Aether Vial.
Yeah, that's really where the only spot really plays a role, and she has Aether Vial in her deck herself.
Exactly. So I think very little sideboarding here on Lauren's side.
Well, these players will finish shuffling up here for game number 3 to be underway in just a second. We'll talk about the Star City Games YouTube page where you can find the replay of this Open Series event and a whole bunch more.
Yeah, everything gets archived over here. You can go to youtube.com/Star City Games video to get subscribed today. Get updates when more information goes up on the YouTube page. Plenty of content there like Versus Series videos, premium archives, Open Series archives, and some content that's exclusive to the YouTube page like unboxing. So again, free to subscribe, youtube.com/Star City Games video.
Death and Taxes Merfolk. Are we sure we're playing Modern, not Legacy?
Yeah, this is odd.
What's going on here?
Lauren's deck, as you mentioned, the mana suppression is not quite as good, but it's a lot of the same recipe here. You gum up the works with some high-quality threats. Again, flying First Strike, cards that make you good in combat, and then use your mana denial to have an edge in matchups where your opponent doesn't care about keywords on creatures.
Doesn't appear Josh is thrilled with his hand. He's giving it a long look over. Maybe he's trying to convince himself to keep it. All right, he's happy. I think he's envisioned the cards that he needs to draw.
Lords. Lords and Spreading Seas. That's his recipe for this matchup.
Well, there's a Wanderwine hub to start. He'll reveal Lord of Atlantis. And just pass the turn back. Looks like Kenner's first draw was a copy of Aether Vial. It's a pretty nice one. She'll start with a Dryad Militant. Rose will draw. Was he looking maybe for land number 2? Well, he has it. And now it's Tidebinder Mage.
Ooh, nasty.
Jeez.
I mean, this is rare to come up here. The Tidebinder Mage actually has some targets.
Yeah.
And those two are out of the sideboard. So this is on purpose.
Okay. Kenner with a Ghost Quarter. Now there's the Vial. Follow-up. It's a Path to Exile. So looking to get that out of here right away to unlock that Dryad Militant.
A lot of this depends on what exactly is going on in Lauren's hand, but, you know, from her side of the table to me, it's a battle over Lords. And then if Josh can't Island Walk, then he's not going to be able to beat you in combat. Your creatures are a lot better. So it depends exactly what's going on in Lauren's hand. There's some spots there where I'm fine with what Lauren just did, and there's other spots where I would prefer to hold the Path back for some sort of Lord.
Yeah, it feels like Path is really at a premium in this matchup. And there are some real hits, like the Lords that you mentioned. Here's a Spreading Seas. Now allow Rose to draw.
Now that Spreading Seas is not that significant for Lauren insofar as she has Aether Vial, she'll be able to deploy her threats. But there is the long-term concern of she can get a lot of stuff on the table, but not be able to block.
Yep. Lord of Atlantis has shown up now, too.
Now, of course, you can always Ghost Quarter away her planes and get out from under that, but that's a hard way to do it.
Might be forced to do it now.
Well, if she doesn't have another planes, her hand might be forced just to be able to cast a white spell.
Mm-hmm. There's another copy of Path to Exile in hand. And it looks like Ghost Quarter is going to target the plane, so Spreading Seas is going to go away.
A card I'm surprised not to see anywhere in Lauren 75, something I would want on the sideboard. And now it's easy to bring up because she's playing against Merfolk right now, is Sunlance. Just seems like a very good removal spell for this deck to have access to.
Yeah, Killstar Confidant, too.
Yeah. You play against mono red strategies, you play, you know, elves, whatever. It's a card you bring in a lot, I feel like.
There's Landing Arbiter.
Not a premium card against Merfolk. Not a lot of searching of the deck to be done.
In comes the Dryad Militant. Rose will take 2. And now it's time for him to draw. There's an island. Wanderwine Hub providing a little bit of white mana on the splash. And the Mutavault in the land row as well. Marrow Regery. And now Lord of Atlantis will come across. So that'll deal 3 points of damage. No good blocks to be had. The follow-up is Spreading Seas yet again. Draw a card. Rose does have a copy of Master of Waves in hand too, so this could be a runaway. We'll see.
Now, Lauren has, you know, because she has Vial in play, it's not going to be an issue of whether or not she can get stuff into play, but just an issue of time. I mean, Josh is going to make blocking really, really hard here unless Lauren has a way to get that Spreading Seas off the table. And most of the creatures that she can put into play, their utility in spots like this is blocking. They don't really do anything other than block really well. And if that's cut off, she can't really race effectively, and the game could easily get away from her.
And there's second Vial. It's funny, you don't see Vial play a huge role in Modern, so sometimes you even forget that it's legal. It's such a powerful card, but there isn't really a Vial deck. I guess Merfolk is the closest that we get.
Yeah, the tribal decks, as the card pool expands, are going to get more powerful, and so it makes sense that would show up a lot more in Legacy. Legacy is also just a format with more more decks are playing with a lot of counter spells, and so Vial is even more meaningful there.
Wonderwine Hub is going to reveal Master of Waves. No, is Josh going to cast Master of Waves now? Can't respond to the Wonderwine Hub.
So Wonderwine Hub facilitates some white splashes. There are none in this deck. I imagine they're in the deck just to try to fight Choke.
Yep.
That's the only conclusion I can draw.
Now there is the Master of Waves. And it's funny because it's easy to say, well, it's kind of free, but in some situations it's not free.
No, it's not. I mean, we see Silvergill Adept have to get cast at full retail sometimes, but it is a way of fighting Choke, and if you expect a lot of that, not unreasonable to put a couple of those lands in your deck.
And sometimes you see white splashes for Path to Exile, Sig River Guide, other things like that, but it doesn't appear to be the case here for Rose this weekend. I'm a big Sig River Guide guy. Big fan. Master of Waves is going to bring some elementals along with it. 5 to be exact. We can't forget about Spreading Seas. That's on the other side of the table. It counts that as well. I'm not sure if Josh actually used the trigger for Marrow Reejery. Could have tapped or untapped something. It doesn't look like he used it at all. Now he's going to send in with the Island Walkers. Looks like 7 damage going to be dealt. Now here's a Path, and Path has got to take care of that Master of Waves. And no search because Leonin Arbor's out there. So just a hard removal spell there is Path.
I mean, that's a good starting point, but again, she's still got to find a way to either contain the Lord or get the Spreading Seas off the table.
Yep. There is still more work to be done. There's Tectonic Edge.
Tectonic Edge answers the Mutavault.
Yep.
So that's also not bad, but not quite the solution she needs. I suppose Flicker Wisp is not a bad way to do it.
Not a bad draw. There are 4 in the list. There's a Cavern of Souls. They don't name Merfolk, of course. Time to come in. Refuses to attack with Lord Atlantis, which is smart.
Yep, that cannot die.
Yep. Looks like 7 damage is going to come across again. There's Kitchen Finks. That'll gain 2 life. Kind of going up to 5. And Vial will tick up to 2 now. But if things stay exactly where they're at right now, Joshua is going to win this game, and therefore he'll win this match.
Yeah, I'm interested to see why there was no Tech Edge on the Mutavault. Is there a big plan with the mana here? Lauren can still get back into this game pretty easily if she has something like Flicker Wisp. Just something to knock the Spreading Seas off.
Let's see what this is. Ah, okay. Harbinger Tides. So that's going to go after Tectonic Edge now. So Marrow Reejery is going to tap that, and then Harbinger's not going to bounce anything because it can't. There's nothing to bounce. If he wanted to tap a creature and then bounce it, he could have. But Josh electing not to. Just going to fire at Mutavault. And this is Flicker Wisp now, though you really want him to get in combat first.
Right. The thing is, Josh's hand is forced. You know, he made the attack last turn. It was pretty safe. Nothing bad happened. He's going to make the same attack and go for the kill.
Ooh, I don't like the bouncing of Lord of Atlantis there.
Yeah, long term, I feel like the Spreading Seas is the thing that needs to get solved.
Because this is a temporary answer, and it could have been a permanent one.
Yeah.
Silvergill Adept will be played at full price. And now Lord of Atlantis is back, so the same problem is still here. Arbiter will get vialed in. But it feels like inexperience in the matchup and the interactions here on Kenner's side. Vile's going to go up to 4. The other one will go up to 3.
She can answer the Lord. And, you know, if she finds a removal spell for that, she's still playing.
The Kitchen Finks might be feeling a little frisky, but if you're Josh, I think you're happy to take this damage.
Yeah.
You're at 18.
Nothing to be gained by blocking.
Yeah. He's going to take it pretty quickly. Rose will draw. Looks like he has Dismember in his hand, among other options. And if this is another Lord, it's probably over. Yep.
Yeah, that is the insurance policy that Josh needed. Although, again, you know, she can knock off the island and still at least block out of this turn.
And that's going to do it. Josh Rose is going to win this match here over Lauren Kenner. 2-1. Merfolk will take care of Death and Taxes. And now this is 2 Merfolk decks making a deep run. Hunter Nance coming in this round with 7-0. And now Josh Rose is 7-1.
And Spreading Seas has been pretty torturous all day long. And definitely with an uptick in decks that are trying to block, giving them islands is very valuable. And some of the decks in Modern, especially the Naya and Jund style decks, their mana bases don't play very easily against that card.
Yeah, there's some decks with some shaky mana in the format.
I think for my Naya Zoo list, that Merfolk's a really poor matchup, even though their creatures are worse and you have Lightning Bolt and all that. And that's just a function of Spreading Seas. It's very powerful against some of your draws.
And we haven't seen a lot of the big mana decks this weekend, Amulet, Boom, and Tron, but of course Spreading Seas is good there too.